Hi there, I'm Alessandra Latour, a leadership expert with over 15 years of experience leading teams and developing leadership programs for over 400 leaders. I've had the privilege of designing learning programs for companies ranging from 15 to 5,000 team members, and I've earned a Doctor of Education degree to make sure that all of the programs I develop maximize learning and action. Through the Latour Leadership Academy, I empower emerging and existing leaders to embrace their authentic leadership style, create team synergy, and foster a positive work culture through curated and personalized learning experiences. In this podcast, we'll talk about how leadership can be found in everyday activities and provide practical tips for those who are new to managing or leading a new team. If you're a leader or hoping to be one, by title or not, I'd love to connect, get to know you better, and find out how I can help. You can grab a free resource on my website, latourleadershipacademy.com, and sign up for my weekly email newsletter where we talk about leadership skills, network, and share action-based ways to enhance team collaboration and positive productivity.
This mini-sode is about getting your team motivated and managing personalities. Think of it as your guide to herding cats. Let's get started. The first question that came in was, how can I motivate my team during challenging times? This is a good question because often when things are challenging, people start to feel a little bit of burnout or close to burnout, and they aren't necessarily as productive or efficient as they usually are. And so one of the ways to help during challenging times is to recognize and celebrate small wins to keep morale high. So look for anything that your team is doing. I don't want to say on a microscopic level, but you could go that low. What are the tiny things that they've done that were really helpful and you're really appreciative of? Recognize those and celebrate those. And as you start to build those little microscopic things into bigger things that have been successful, they're going to get motivated by that positive feedback, by that reward of celebrating, and they're going to start to do more things successfully. And so you get kind of that trickle effect or that snowball effect, if you will. Things get bigger. You could also try providing more clear direction and support and really focus on reinforcing the bigger picture and long-term goals versus shorter term. Sometimes they need to see kind of that light at the end of the tunnel to know that they're on the right track, even though right now it might be a little challenging. For example, one time I was working on this big project and it was to get a new piece of educational technology for our company. And we did discovery. It took a couple of months to do that. We added in some other vendors to check out towards the end. And so we were, piling up on our discovery and it was taking a long time. And then the decision makers, we finally got in front of them, showed them what we were looking for, what our recommendation was, and then we had to wait again, right? So that can get a little bit frustrating in the minutia there, like waiting, and sometimes it's out of your control. That waiting was out of my control. And it can be a little bit frustrating, and remembering that the big picture is that at the end of this decision, we can move forward with something, right? And knowing that that's coming and planning for that keeps things from feeling too frustrating, too challenging earlier on. So try that for reinforcing the bigger picture and the long-term goals for your team when they're finding something more in the minutia feeling challenging. And then also make sure you're showing empathy, right? So we want to make sure that our team feels supported, that we understand where they're coming from. So in that example I just gave, my boss was very much like, I'm just as frustrated with you, and here's the bigger picture. We go in front of them, they make a decision, and then we're able to move forward. So let's plan a little bit about how we're going to move forward so we can hit the ground running when that decision happens, and so she was able to reflect back to me that she also felt frustrated about the length of time it was taking, but, we were looking for that bigger picture coming. So we knew there was a result going to happen at some point. So again, those times can be challenging. Your team is looking for you to set the tone. So the more you can be excited about the bigger picture and less worried about the challenges in between, the more they'll also look to that. All right, the next question about motivation and team dynamics was, what are some effective strategies for managing different personalities? So there's a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but almost controversy around utilizing personality assessments in the workplace. That could be anything from Myers-Briggs to predictive index to neurocolor to DISC analysis. There's tons of them out there for personality assessments. I think they're useful to a degree. to understand individual strengths and communication styles. But remember that a person doesn't always fit in a box. If they're in a different circumstance, they might behave differently. So just because, for example, you have somebody who's very analytical, very results oriented, very detailed, wants to know all the ins and outs, doesn't mean that they can't be visionary if they need to, or if an opportunity arises. So remember that using a personality assessment can help you with the general communication style of your people, the general behaviors of your people, but don't pigeonhole them into that personality assessment result. You're going to also, if you're looking at managing different personalities, want to adapt your leadership approach. So this doesn't mean that you're going to feel inauthentic. I want to always go back to be your authentic leadership self. You want to make sure that you incorporate different styles as you see fit, as they feel good to you. I don't want you faking something for the sake of faking it and saying you can do it that way if it doesn't feel authentic, because at the end of the day, you have to feel good about yourself as a leader, just as your team has to feel good about you as a leader. It starts with you feeling authentic in your leadership style. So you can adapt your leadership approach looking at components of different leadership styles to meet the unique needs of each team member. So for example, sometimes you may have to step into authoritative leadership so that you can make a decision, you can move things forward, you can set deadlines. Sometimes you may have to go into servant leadership. How can I support my people? What am I doing to help them? It's not about me, it's about them and the completion of their work and them feeling good about their role, right? So you can pick different pieces of leadership styles that tailor your approach to your team members and what they need. And each team member is going to be different. Some of them are going to like that authoritative style. Some of them are going to need it and not like it. And some of them are going to absolutely hate it and probably not need it either. And so you just have to realize, what is this person looking for from me? How can I support them as a leader? I think if you step into authentic leadership, you step into servant leadership, that will get you to the point of trying to figure out how you can help the other person, right? It's not about your success as a leader. It's about your team's success in what they're doing. And that means your team members individually have to be successful. And you, as a leader, set them up for that. The other way to manage different personalities is to really encourage open dialogue among your team. If you are creating that inclusive environment where people can speak up no matter what their perspective, and that their perspective is valued in that conversation, that is going to open up managing different personalities to a lot easier results. So it'll be easier for you to manage those personalities if you've created an environment where anybody can share their perspective no matter what it is, while feeling valued without feeling retaliation or negative energy around that. So if you can open up the dialogue within your team, it's going to be a lot easier for you to manage different personalities, because they will talk through things without you needing to feel like you're managing them, right? It'll feel more cohesive, more collaborative if you're able to have that open dialogue. So speaking of collaboration, the next question was, how can I foster a culture of collaboration and innovation? Now, I think sometimes we have to think about, what does collaboration actually mean? Does that mean you have to witness your team members working together doing something? No. That means they could be shooting each other a chat and figure something out, and they're being collaborative. That means they could be pulling in somebody from another team that you may not even realize that they talked to that person. That's collaborative. What does innovative mean? Does that mean it has to be an earth-shattering, brain-blowing, mind-blowing topic concept? No. It could be something as small as they figured out the way the process works, so they don't have to double click on this. They only have to click one time, right? It can be something that is a continuous improvement approach that feels innovative, right? It doesn't have to be earth-shattering innovation. So remember, when you're thinking about collaboration and innovation, it can be small, tiny things that move things forward. So how do we encourage that kind of culture, collaboration and innovation? We want to encourage creative problem solving. So again, if you're a leader, you need to know that the way you do it may not be the way that everybody else does it, and that's totally fine. As long as it gets done successfully and nothing's missed, there's no reason to really dive into that process. Again, maybe you're thinking about efficiency or productivity, then maybe you want to look at it, but Otherwise, you're looking at outcomes versus process for your people. That gives them autonomy to complete their work, and then it really holds them accountable for that outcome. So in addition to, encouraging creative problem solving, you can provide opportunities for cross-functional products or cross-collaborative team projects where they are working with other teams and with other people across the company or outside the company. Maybe they're working with a client or another organization, you're working together, where they are learning about how those people work and what their processes are and what their outcomes are supposed to be. And that's going to, as soon as you bring in somebody with a different perspective, you create that opportunity for collaboration and innovation, right? There's a reason people say two heads are better than one. And then lastly, as far as fostering this culture of collaboration and innovation, you're going to want to recognize and reward those innovative ideas and those collaborative efforts. So again, if you figure out a way to do one click instead of two, that is amazing. That is innovation, right? If you figured that out because you worked with somebody else on the team to figure that out, great, that's collaboration. Let's reward that. Those small rewards are going to lead into bigger rewards, bigger successes, because it creates a momentum, kind of a snowball effect. So really work on looking at what collaboration and innovation mean to you and whether you are making it feel life-shattering, or earth-shattering and mind-blowing, or whether you can see the small pieces, because your team's going to need you to see those small pieces so that they start working towards perhaps bigger ones.
Thanks for joining me for this mini-sode. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, you can find me there, sharing practical tips and insights on all things leadership. And don't forget to grab the free resource on my website, latourleadershipacademy.com, and get more great tips directly in your inbox. Have a great rest of your day and see you back here soon.